Hi folks, Mike Schramke with Larry Stove Sand Equipment. You bought a Kioti CK10 from us. Thank you. Thank you for your business and your trust, and you bought a nice tractor. I know I'm biased. I bleed orange, and only the right kind of orange. Right. But in my opinion, and I think the facts bear out, you bought the finest compact tractor, large frame compact tractor on the market. You could have bought a Kubota, a Deere, a Mahindra, or 5 dozen other tractors, and you chose a Kioti CK10. Congratulations, you made the right decision. So I thought I'd share with you a little video on acclimating yourself with the machine. It's not to be used in place of or instead of everybody's nemesis, the owner's manuals. You received owner's manuals for the tractor, for the loader, and if you bought a backhoe, for the backhoe as well. And they are more than just to be used as coasters or to level out a television that has lost a leg. These are something that you really should spend some time with. And I mean, you know, a lot of owner's manuals, if you try to read the owner's manuals to you know, a blender, the first 18 pages will be safety and how you're going to kill yourself with the blender and all of that. And none of it's helpful. That's not the case here. Yes, there's 18 pages of safety stuff. But on the cover itself, on the inside flap, it tells you at the initial 50 hours, what do you need to do? What is a daily check? And you think, oh, daily check. No, seriously. There is stuff on here that you do need to check daily. The radiator grill needs to be clean. Tire inflation. Let's see. PTO shaft and guard. My goodness. That is something you'd check every day. And then, you know, I said on another video that you could make a table game called Stump the Brochure. Any question that you might have on the operation of your Kioti CK10 tractor is in here. I promise it's in here. If it's not, or you can't find it, of course, call us. We want to help. But by, you know, my wanting to help is why I'm encouraging you to read the owner's manual. There is good stuff in here. And one of the most important things, obviously, is the maintenance schedule. Because things are different. For example, the grease zerks on the loader arms need to be greased at, what do you think? I've asked this question and nobody, well, I can't say nobody. Most people get it wrong. 10 hours. Every 10 hours, the grease zerks on the loader need to be lubricated for very good reason, because the loader is under constant use and it's hard use. And they'll end up wallowing out the holes, and it's a bad deal if you don't do it. So do that. But some of the grease zerks, like on the front axle, are every 50 hours. Take the initial oil change on a new tractor is 50 hours. Pardon me. Now you don't do it every 50 hours after that. But what you want to do at 50 hours is change the motor oil and the oil filter and the hydraulic filter or filters. Your tractor, your CK10 tractor, has a hydraulic filter for the entire hydraulic system. And if you bought a hydrostat, it has 2 filters. And they're right next to each other on the inside of the right-hand rear wheel. Very easy to find. But that's at 50 hours. And after that, your oil changes, motor oil changes, would be on a CK2610 would be 250 hours. And on a CK3510 or 4010, every 400 hours, or annually, and most people just do them annually, but, you know, give you an idea. And that's all easily found in the brochure. On motor oil, you will, I'm so sorry, the pollen at the end of summer in mid-Tennessee is something to behold. The acceptable weights of motor oil would be 1030, 1040, or 1540 with a CJ rating. CJ like Carlos Juan rating, diesel certified motor oil. Kioti makes as they make the best tractors in the world, they also have the best motor oil in the world. But if you choose not to use Kioti lubricants, it will not void your warranty. You're not going to get in trouble. You're not going to head to the principal's office. But buy good stuff and make sure that it's one of those 3 weights and has a CJ rating. The warranty on your CK10, as whoever you talk to here has pointed out, I certainly hope, the first 2 years with no limit on hours and no deductible, bumper to bumper. So if, and I say this all the time, people get tired of hearing it, if the headlight burns out or the horn doesn't blow, it's covered. No deductible and no limit on hours for the first 2 years. And that is followed up with 4 additional years on the engine and powertrain. That would be the engine, transmission, and drive axles. And that is the engine, and not stuff that bolts onto the engine. So, like not a starter, but definitely a crankshaft. The inside of the engine, the internally lubricated parts. An additional 4 years with no limit on hours and no deductible. It excludes stuff that you break. And people break stuff. I break stuff. If you break stuff, it's not covered. But if it broke, because it broke and you had nothing to do with the breakage, it is definitely covered. Something that's not covered is transportation of your machine to the repair facility. So hopefully you bring it here, but you might be in Florida watching this, and the Kioti warranty is good at any Kioti dealer, but transportation is not covered. So dealers like myself do have the availability of transportation, and we charge a little bit for it. It's not expensive, but it's not free. Or you can call a roll-off wrecker, to get it. I've had people do that too. Check with your local dealer, whoever you're going to have do the service on how to get it there. Let's go outside and run over just the basic thumbnail of the operation of your CK10 tractor. And again, please read the owner's manual. And if you have any questions or problems, we love questions. We don't like problems, but we know that we need to address them. So don't hesitate to give us a call, email, or however you want to get a hold of us. We will make the problem go away. Do our very best. Thank you again, and let's go outside. All right, so we talked about the owner's manual and the importance of reading it. And let's go over a few things on these. What I brought out here is a CK2610. This one happens to be a hydrostat. And a CK3510, and that one's a hydrostat as well. And a couple of differences. They share many components, and a couple of the things in operation will be a little different. One thing I'd like to touch on before I forget is don't get into the habit, propensity, whatever, of putting it in four-wheel drive and leaving it in four-wheel drive. Four-wheel drive is an awesome thing, and it has a specific purpose. But some folks are apt to just leave it in four-wheel drive all the time. And if you have a truck, for example, that if you're driving on hard pavement in four-wheel drive and you turn the wheels all one way, that you get that clunk. And it's the nature of the beast. The four-wheel drives are made to have some give, like soil, sand, snow, rocks, whatever. And when you need four-wheel drive, by all means put it in four-wheel drive. But if you don't need it, if you're cutting grass or whatever, don't use it. It'll prolong the life of the front axle, especially if you repeatedly use it on hard, rock hard ground while you're cutting grass or concrete or whatever. It's use it when you need it, and when you don't. When you need to access under the hood the engine, there is a switch. It's a blue switch next to the loader control, and that is a safety lock. It locks the loader so that you can safely pass under the bucket without having somebody walk by and bump the handle. That's awesome. Now, I told you what it does, forget it. Because this is the only way you can guarantee your safety when you're under the tractor. Just a piece of angle iron set in the piston. If you don't have one, come by, we'll give you one. That is how you do it. You set it in there and then gently lower the loader a little bit and put the weight on it. And now you can safely come under here and it will not come down if somebody hits the handle. Let me tell you, if somebody hits the handle and you're standing here, you will die. You will be dead. Dead is bad. And it will happen. It won't injure you. It will kill you. So prop the pistons of the loader every time. Every time. You know that you pull the little spring bolts to release the guard, drop it down. Most everything that needs to be attended to and checked on a regular basis is pretty easy to get to, and it's all on one side. It has a canister type air cleaner, Donaldson air cleaner. So you've got a good one. This little valve here, it's a little rubber thing at the end. As the tractor vibrates, the dry particulate matter on the filter is apt to fall down, and every once in a while just come by and burp it, and the dry particulate dirt will come out. You don't necessarily have to crack open the air cleaner every time you want to relieve it of some dirt. The grass screen in front of the radiator is there for a reason. It'll accumulate with grass, and it needs to be removed, and it needs to be removed immediately. The tractor will overheat. It's not like it might overheat. It will overheat if that's plugged up with grass. So keep that nice and clean, and your tractor will be very happy. On the front axle, the red cap is where the gear oil, 90 weight gear oil, is added, checked, maintained, whatever. The front axle takes 90 weight gear oil. That's the only thing on the tractor that takes 90 weight gear oil. So there's only a few fluids, say that quickly, in this tractor. Front axle gets 90 weight gear oil. The engine gets motor oil, as we talked about the different weights that are okay. The entire hydraulic system, including the transmission, the loader, if you had a backhoe, everything that runs on hydraulics takes UTF, Universal Tractor Fluid. Kioti makes a heck of a good UTF. If you choose not to use Kioti oils, it will not void your warranty. That's fine. But buy good stuff. The UTF, you can always buy the 5 gallons of junk or the 5 gallons of premium. Spend a couple dollars extra and get the good stuff. As I slosh through the mud with my very cool Kioti orange chucks. The couple of things on the fuel. The 9-gallon fuel tank on the CK10. In the wintertime, if you know that your fuel supplier, your fuel station, treats it for winter anti-ice, you're good to go. If you're not sure, or they don't know, or they don't do it, you'll need to add some anti-ice, anti-gel supplement into the tank. You can buy it anywhere, and 1 ounce per fuel tank. Let it run for a minute or two, and then the fuel won't freeze. What happens is it freezes in the fuel filter and the tractor won't start, and that's not cool. The other thing is using clean fuel. The days of using those big steel drop tanks that your grandfather had, those need to be a distant memory. Fuel needs to be clean and preferably fresh and preferably toted from a fuel station with a plastic can. And the cleaner the fuel, the better. Your fuel filters will last a long time, and you won't get crud in there. It matters more on the 35 and 4010 than it does on the 2610. The 2610 is not emission controlled. It doesn't have a common rail diesel injection system. It's not as picky of an eater as that one is. So if you have a 3510 or 4010, pay especially close attention to putting clean fuel in it. Okay, on the back of the tractor, a couple of things I'd like to point out. Grease zerks. You can tell we just greased this one. The threads and this zerk should be kept lubricated, as well as obviously every other zerk that you can find. If it doesn't have a grease zerk like the check chains down here, lubricate the threads. They are very hard to turn when they're not lubricated. While we're talking about the check chains, and that's what these are called, the check chains are prone through vibration and time to work themselves loose. This nut will work itself loose. This lock nut, jam nut, will work itself loose. this will turn, it'll fall off, and you'll lose it, and then you'll have to buy another one. So every time that you install an implement, or every time you put fuel in the tank, snug this and snug the jam nuts, because as I said, they are prone to come off. I've had people put Loctite on them. That's fine. You just want them not to come off, obviously. The PTO has a safety shield that is pivots. If nobody tells you that it pivots, you might not know it. It makes it a lot easier to reach in here. The dust cover, keep it on if you're not using a drive shaft on here, because it does just what the name implies. It keeps it clean of debris. The two machines, whether it's the CK2610 or the CK35/4010, a little bit different in starting. This is not a common rail diesel engine. That is, they both have glow plugs that you could preheat the injector, the glow plugs, to aid in starting. The CK2610, you'll use that. It does help start it. The CK3510, not so much. It'll start. I've never seen one not start, no matter how cold it is. They start real well. These, you'll just jump on them and maybe whistle while you work. Da 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 da. About that long. And show you a couple of things on the deck of this. There are times you're going to want to start the tractor without being on it, or have it run without being on it. And you can hang the clutch like this, and now the clutch is disengaged from the pressure plate, so I could start it without getting on it. The other time you'll want to use that is if there's a especially nasty cold spell, and I'm talking cold, like 10 degrees cold. That does keep the clutch and the pressure plate apart, and any condensation within the transmission case won't freeze those two things together, making the tractor inoperable. So if it's super cold, go ahead and hang that clutch like that. We're going to switch places. John's going to come around. Like every tractor since the who knows 19 whatevers, this you push with your heel if one rear wheel is spinning and the other one has stopped, so you've lost traction. You can push this momentarily, and both of them will kick together in a positive lock, 50-50 distribution, and help pull you out. The four-wheel drive engagement is right here. It's just that simple. The tractor needs to be stopped, push the clutch in, and put the lever, whether in four-wheel drive or two-wheel drive. A lot of people don't know, unless I tell them, this triangular knob raises and lowers the actual height of the seat without changing the suspension. This one is the suspension, so if you're fat like me and you have a 115-pound wife and you both use a tractor, you'll be spinning that knob quite a bit. That's it on this one. We'll spend the rest of our moments together on this one, because there's a couple things I want to talk about. This is the 3510, the 4010 have a common rail diesel injection. It will start every time, no matter what the temperature is, just like this. It does have a glow plug, and in both cases, to make the glow plug active, you would simply turn the key to its first notch without starting it, and you'll wait a few seconds and then turn it the rest of the way and it'll start right up. It's important that we talk about engaging the PTO and the RPMs that you should be running this thing at, both of them, any of them. The common rail diesel injected engines, the computer controlled tier 4 engines, are required by law to not be nasty and put out soot. So one way that they do that is it has a diesel particulate filter and kind of a reservoir, if you will, a cup. And the cup, we'll call it, fills with soot. And every once in a while that soot needs to go away, so instead of, like, it's not like you empty it like a chimney thing, it burns it off. in order to burn it off, the tractor needs to run at a proper RPM. Anytime the tractor's running, this has a PTO operating range of between 1800 and 2400 RPMs, 540 economy and 540. Anywhere between these two numbers will operate the PTO at its required 540 output RPMs. They do have the economy letting you know that if you're using something that is very minimalistic, needy of horsepower, post hole digger, log splitter, goofy stuff like that, generator, things that don't take any horsepower, you can run the engine at 1800 RPMs. The PTO will be running at 540. But if the tractor is operating any equipment like this or a tiller, if it's in motion, if it's driving, tractor needs to run at 2400 RPMs. That is the speed that the tractor needs to run at. So it's tempting to just putt around and at low RPMs, and no, don't do that. Especially with a hydrostat, because a hydrostat takes hydraulic pressure. That's all it is it uses the hydraulic pressure that the tractor's hydraulic pump uses to make motion. So it works correctly only at the proper speed, which is 2400 RPM. So did I say it enough? What's the speed we need to run these at? 2400. 2400. 2400. Don't believe your grandfather when he says, oh yeah, you shouldn't run them that fast. Yes, you should. Any modern diesel engine needs to stretch its legs, and 2400 is the magic number. So run the tractor at 2400 RPMs. If you're hooking something up in the back and you're just wanting to raise and lower the 3-point, that's fine, let it idle. But 2400. I'm going to show you something on the PTO, but first I'm going to show you the load leveling rod on the front. That brass colored thing on the loader arm. What is it you say? Well, I'll show you. If you're doing back dragging or something, you can't see the bottom of the bucket to see if it's level. So, oh, look at that. If those two things are right there, you could put a bubble on the bottom of that. You could put a bubble on the bottom of that bucket, and it's level. So it really does help, because if you're digging, scooping, back dragging, you need to know what is level and then what's a couple of degrees either way of level, and that's what that's for. John, if you could shoot this little sticker right here. These are what the loader will do, and with the joystick. And you bought a nice tractor, so unlike some tractors, you could do two things at the same time. You can go down and dump. You can go up and roll. You can do all kind of stuff. Now, what I want to tell you about though is the float. If you were back dragging your driveway with rocks, that's cool. That's what loaders can do, and they do a good job of it. It's also prone to, if you hit something horribly nasty, like a sewer lid that you forgot was there, you could damage the bucket or damage the loader, knock it out of alignment. So they offer a float thing, and I'm going to start the tractor and show you, but I wish you could feel this, but when you put the loader down, you get that. Well, then if you push it hard, you'll feel a click. It goes into a float mode, and that offers some forgiveness. If you're back dragging, you hit something nasty, it'll bounce over it instead of just holding its. So bucket's on the ground, but I can go into float. And now I can back drag safely, and I won't hurt anything. All right, now on the PTO, when you engage the PTO, as we've discussed, it needs to run at 2400 RPMs, but you don't want to have it at 2400 and then throw the clutch and engage it. It won't hurt the tractor. You're not going to break the tractor. It's kind of mean thing to do to the implement. It's hitting at high RPM with a whole lot of torque all at once. So what we'd like you to do is engage it at a low RPM and then spool it up. So I'm going to start the tractor. This tractor idles at about 900 RPMs. That's 1200. now I'm going to spool it up. And that's the way to do it. It's just a lot more gentle on the implement. It's a small thing, and I don't think you'd ever hurt it, but you never know. I know you'll never hurt it if you do it that way. That should be it on the stuff I know. Of course, you could write a book on the stuff I don't know. Again, thank you for buying a tractor from us. I truly appreciate it. I appreciate your business. I appreciate your trust in us. And if you have any questions or problems, you know, the owner's manual is your first, really, it's in there. But if it's not, or if you can't find it, don't hesitate. Pick up the phone or email us. We are all here to help. Mike Schramke with Larry Stowe Sand Equipment. Thank you for your business.